Rajakala Jobe, Jaka Society, Tropon Sanjir, Tashi Delectio.
To all my Madama friends following us on the live stream, good morning.
We'll begin the practice with the yellow prayer book opening prayers on page 1. All Mother sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. All Mother sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. For that purpose, until I attain Buddhahood, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. Until death, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. From today until this time tomorrow, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. I take refuge in the Buddhas until I attain the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. Just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to Bodhicitta and progressed along the Bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to Bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the Bodhisattva's path. I take refuge in the Buddhas until I attain the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. Just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to Bodhicitta and progressed along the Bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to Bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the Bodhisattva's path. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. May all Mother sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all Mother sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. Now we'll go to the Guru Rinpoche Sadhana, page 1. Page 1. Protector of the blissful land, Amitabha Buddha of infinite light, Avalokiteshvara, venerated Padmasambhava, noble lady Yeshisogyal, Princess Pema Sal, great Tertun Pagma Lingpa, Siddha Simphel Song, Gyalwa Namchok, Chogyal Punsok, Choki Drakpa, and Penchen Lundrup, Trinley Zangpo, Dongkung Drupe Pal, Tenzin Dojo, Lotro Choki Gyal, Choki Nima, Pema Gyamsen, Choki Gyamsen, Maha Manju, Tempe Zagyen, and Choni Norbu. Root Guru, Father, and your sons, I beseech you from the bottom of my heart, please dispel adversity and obstacles. Please bestow your blessings to attain common and supreme accomplishments. Having realized all wishes that accord with Dharma unobstructedly, may I seize the royal seat of the Dharmakaya, the final truth, and enter the sublime pure land, great bliss, without reliving a samsaric birth. Page 5. Namo, to the Guru who embodies all those gone to bliss and those whose nature is the triple gem, I and all beings of the 6 realms take refuge until we reach awakening.
Lama
Having given rise to Bodhichitta and accomplished the Guru for the sake of all beings, I vow to free the 6 realms by acts that tame all beings according to their needs. Guru, an assembly of Yidam deities, please come here and be seated on this throne of Lotus, Sun, and Moon. I sincerely pay homage with my body, speech, and mind, and I make outer, inner, and secret offerings. I openly confess all impaired and broken vows, evil deeds, and obscurations. I rejoice in the accomplishment of secret mantra. Please turn the secret mantra Dharma wheel that matures and liberates. I pray do not pass into nirvana, but continue to remain for the benefit of others. I dedicate the heart essence for the sake of sentient beings. May they realize the true meaning of Vajra. From emptiness arises Om, from which appears jeweled vessel broad and vast. Within it, Om, Ah, and Hom merge into a pure and unimpeded torma that produces extraordinary, flawless bliss and fills the boundaries of space. Om Ah Hom, Om Ah Hom, Om Ah Hom, Om
kun jam le lang san sa de bien je pa tham je da yong sa da la sam sa lo.
Homage to the Tathagata many jewels, homage to the Tathagata sublime form, homage to the Tathagata limitless body, homage to the Tathagata beyond all fear. Page 9. Home. My nature is primordial innate wrath. The space-pervading gods of wrath and the hindrance-taming wrathful goddesses have set the boundaries that no one may transcend. Om Vajra Krodha Raksa Brum Hum. Home, emanating myriad forms from inside the Dharmadhatu basic space, Lama, Yidam, Dakini, and the oceanic hosts of oath-bound ones, please remember your heart pledge and send down great resplendence. Page 12. Hum hum. In the condition where phenomena are empty and without a reference point, I cultivate compassion, love, and kindness for all sentient beings. From the causal Hri arise Yam, Ram, Bam, Lam, and Sum, which respectfully turn into space, wind, fire, water, earth, and Mount Meru, composed of precious substances. At its center is a multicolored lotus, at the heart of which is a crossed vajra with a broom at its hub, transforming into a boundless jewel palace, replete with perfect qualities and dazzling light. And the protection sphere surrounding it, upon a multicolored lotus and the sun and moon, is a Hri, the expression of my own awareness, which transforms into the blue lotus, white with a tinge of red and with the youthful radiance of a child. My right hand holds a vajra at the heart, while my left hand holds a skull cup filled with nectar placed in equipoise below my navel. My crown is adorned with a lotus hat, a vulture's feather, strips of silk, and a mirror emanating rays of light. I am garbed in a brocade cloak, red and silken dharma robes, and a blue gown. My ears, hands, feet, neck, and waist are all adorned with golden jewels. Sitting gracefully in a Vajra pose, a Kavanga staff is resting on my left shoulder. Surrounding me are Guru Totransal's 4 classes, Guru Rinpoche's 8 manifestations, Dakas, Dakinis, warrior kings, Dharma protectors, and a host of haughty ones, all of whom are gathering like rain clouds in the sky. From the body, speech, and mind of these envisioned deities, light streams forth to invite the Guru and the 3 roots from the southwestern Yak-tail Isle, who then appear and merge with me. Northwest land of Udayana, born in a lotus pollen heart, is the one renowned as Lotus born, who found wondrous and supreme accomplishment and is surrounded by a host of Dakas and Dakinis. Emulating you, I will devote myself to practice. Please come here and grant your blessings. Vajra Samaja. please remain on this delightful seat at the center of this splendid boundless palace, emanating bodies as many as there are atoms in the universe. I pay homage with devoted body, speech, and mind. Page 15. Home. I offer water for drinking, water for bathing the feet, flowers, incense, lamplight, fragrances, food, and music such as that of drums and conch shells. I offer supreme Amrita composed of the 8 main components and 1,000 branches, Rakta, formed of causes and conditions, and an embellished Torma. The Yab-Yum union is the supreme delight, the final truth, a state of innate emptiness, bliss. Please accept this wondrous offering. Homage and praise to the Guru's form, appearing yet void, void yet appearing. Ah, homage and praise to the Guru's speech, heard yet void, void yet heard. Hum, homage and praise to the Guru's mind, void yet clear, clear yet void. Praise to you who are endowed with boundless qualities and tame beings with enlightened deeds.
Lama
Page 18. Hum, hum, hum. All appearance is the Guru's form, primordially present, ah, la, la. All sound is the Guru's speech, inseparably united, wind and mantra, the primordial nada melody. All thoughts are the Guru's mind, originally pure in the primordial Dharmakaya. The sound of mantra echoes naturally across the cosmos of a billion worlds. By sending it out, it fulfills the needs of sentient beings, and when it gathers back, it merges with the space of the primordial mother. Until clarity is achieved, I will visualize and meditate. Until this practice is accomplished, I will not abandon it.
Rinpoche, Dibasa, some younger to tap tangier, the younger. They did this and go to go watch upon somebody. One more rabla, choa, jeba goes. The touch of the tango, Hoabin Chagron de Tangi, Shogo, they searched it, the touch of them so. Hoa Dungi, Sajis are Dungi, Mari, the Dungi searched. Tomari said, they are the Dembar Church. They were that they were just on Dembar Church. Oh, Hoa Dungi, the Kaigi Chas on. Oh, Daji Nizi Chas, Daji Nizi, Yunbo Chasona. Three, not the Hatang Tamo, Yunbo Chas, Mamma, three Charonga, Carlasova, don't double your Muni Jama. The country, Shia, your Macapaton, Shia, your Marisa, Tero. Egypt Charon, the cherry. They tower at the don't let it be choose about it. Hoa Dungi, Charon, Mupan. Simaga now and then, sure chet, this one. There it is, don't down the money, Charon Yoma, Chokor and Charon Yoma, Chokoram Jin, things of the two chopa. They must say Chokon or Amji Tombani, Church and Naka children. Oh, Church, teenagers, clean a part of Tamlo or Repina. Theatre was any, she told Tombani, so down the money, of Chadon. Good up the community, Lord, the Tatan Koa Cha, Tata and Dublin Age Sapa, the Tata, doing Nabanato, then Dublin the Jungle. They might say, there is the one, me song some, now I thought of some, there is the Moka Tayore. They come at the Charon Cachet and Sabra, this was the same thing called the other day, and this is young with your. They travel tabletry, they were that they were just on them, but your Hoa Karaka Chason, Danji Chasons. Oh, that is your Karata Sanchokson, Jimpy logo it. Don't something over it. Oh, yeah. Some to chip what you call a drop of it. Some Sung and Negam told you they were talking. Oh, yeah. There is something I don't tell you, chocolate over it. You give on those chadi. It's terrible, it is at the top. Mango song your age.
So, Dhamma friends, Dashi Delek, we're starting today the Guru Rinpoche retreat, and we're holding that every year, also over the live stream. And it's important that we really understand the significance of the sadhana, the practice that we are engaging in now. So generally speaking, any sadhana, every sadhana can be divided into different lengths of sadhana. So there is an extensive version, a medium length version, and a concise version. Lord Jigten Sumgyan had said in the Gong Chik that those with highest mental capacities, they need a more extensive sadhana. And so the purpose of sadhana, so sadhana means the method of accomplishment. And so what is that method for? Samsara is like an ice block that needs to be melted first. And so that is the purpose of all sadhana. There is suffering in samsara. In the state of enlightenment of a Buddha, there is no suffering. So the sadhana exists for the sake of pacifying, of calming down suffering. In the beginning, we always pray, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. So how did the suffering of samsara come into existence? It is because of the dualistic grasping, the dualistic thinking of self and other. And we have habituated to that for a very long time. And that is just like it has been cold outside. The weather has been cold for a very long time. So long that the ice has all turned into glaciers and snow mountains. And for example, when even in the real world, when we see a glacier, a huge snow mountain, it seems like this huge mountain can never melt, even if like 1,000 aeons go by, because they seem so huge. But in the end, the nature of that snow mountain is still water. So the purpose of the Holy Dharma is taught in order to melt this ice block of samsaric suffering, to melt our fixation to a concrete existence and our concepts about existence. Ultimately, there is really no ice. Ice is still water by nature. And because it is water, water can be used. Temporarily, in an ultimate sense, even water is empty of inherent existence. It always ends up vanishing in space. So first there's water, and then water evaporates into clouds, and then the clouds dissolve into the sky. So water is said also to be empty on the ultimate level. And so now on the relative level, samsara appears. And in this world, for instance, even though the karmas are still somewhat lighter than in the lower realms, we still experience a lot of suffering in this world. But in the 3 lower realms, the hell beings, the hungry spirits, and the animals experience far worse suffering. So in the lower realms, that is because the afflictive emotions are much more intense. And that means the ice block is that much harder, more solidified. And so that ice block, since the mind is like an ice block, we are bound to continue on living in samsara and experience suffering there. So then what is the method to become liberated from this? So again, our prayer says, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. So how did samsara come into existence? It is because of self-grasping. So what can we do to melt this ice block of self-grasping? We need to cultivate bodhicitta, an altruistic mind. In brief, it means we need to cultivate a mind of love. And if your love is great, then you become liberated from samsara. If your love is smaller, but there's still love, then you will experience temporary happiness. And if your love is very small, then the love transforms into attachment. It is said that from ordinary compassion arises attachment. And so that is the purpose. It is for that sake that the various levels of longer and shorter sadhanas are being taught.
Kashi Roma Sarva Yore, Tian Roma Sarva Jing, District Jumbo Sajin Yomari, send the only district Jumbo Yore, Sanji Jati Yore, then tell her Tamachi Tom, do some talk tell us over Yore, Yuran Koma, go tell us Tilly, Roma Sarva, Letambuba, Letabuba Kari, Tata, Ningman Kari. Tawani Jubri came in Jubri Mishiriti Chimache. Oh, Jubri Tesa Harbor is a Chimba Papa ni Jubri Chile, oh, ta the sugar Tawati Sancho, some semi jellies, Chuja Tawa Sancho, is a Hakon and Triti, Rambasum de Tele, 40 Patan, taking Patan, Trita, Sangapa Ason, Little Corontorum, and the Triti. 당처럼 대자셔 당처럼 자는 자공 쥐도 야고 말이 있으면 당 대고 대자 상문지 대담지 드목라서 대 통통가 대임을 대담지 내가 가와서 뭐지 봐서 대인은 드리서는 라마나 로베 뒤지 깨자 라마나 쇼고 지금 도민이 넘습니다 그래서 다 문에 동당고 했더니 사자들 동당고 내 말을 고아탭 되리 잠지나 다트 초가 안 됐다고 단적해 요리 강에 나와 탐질 아마 거스 잡아 탐질 아마 송 네, 돈다 사자 집은 강니 되니 죽은 남카다시 전 대식용 목하는 아버지 남카다나 되니 로그 자송다고 됐지 제들이 또 탐자면다니 다지 예당가 사서 장매가 로그 샤는 요리 저거 애들이 대체 뭐 또쯤 죽어다 놓고 죽고 되니 혼대는 참자면 들이 제비시니 죽고 되는 거는 로라도 수수적 지는데 ramji 그때 가래 돈이 죽어요 나더니 인기에 돈이 그 잘래 ramji 그 상이지라지 그래서 고와도 저가 탑들 들고 좀 들고서입니다 이제 고섭지다니 이제 들다 제가 들다는 거를 못 제가 저번에 고섭 거 봐서 들려다 못 듣고 봐 들이 받을로 거 봐, 타만 죽고 봐. 죽어가면 라마다랑 예매 받자 안 거요래. 송졌다 그래도 때들 마도 없었지 담제나. 들다다 저거 저지 들다다 하나서 또 레dim들이 제자네. 들다다 토마니 들도 탑가래 맞아라. 잡줄 좋아다 센티만 되게 이제선 거요 나봐 사제봐. 내려들이 라마도 봐지. 라마시 봐지 가당하니 무슨 사자 준비지 마딩이 쏟는 나들이 모두 제제 대상 이바드는 기부서 좀 잠수고 손바드니 감소나 통기자에는 사트서 대식이 뭐죠서 샘디 온 대식이 뭐요리 대뭐 심한 속대 타른 동대게 제바들이 뭐 두어만 보고 요래 들들들 딱고 좋대 대비만 고 차노래 대추고 제세동 레레 제세동 차노래 그때 고면 더 봐 담제를 내가 레좀 되고 그러잖아. 그래서 다들 치즈다 와서 산속선인데 그거 봤을 때 나가라만 산속선을 들이 때렸다는 거를 못 주고서 때다 시바 강사 되게 들이 다다다 랑게서 거는 라마 산속선을 해야 되는 거를 못 산속선을 해. 소식을 습지 탐지 인항요 이제들이 습지 동네에 통 다진 용 습지는 동네도 없어. 랑이 되게면 없어. 주니기 우리 되게면 없. 주디는 동네 도사면 되다면 다운 이제 고접 상속선인데. 들이 때는 남반나서 딸 망보요리 대답을 내도 같이 동네 체면 야왕이 성소제 동네도 놈이들 같이 강나 동네 매봐 내가 지는지 돼요. 때렸더니 대마시는 대마시 대 시고는 살려주래 시고요래. 이제 뒤숭고 송은들이 좀제 때문에 미시베 시드서 몽바에 좀 좀제들 하장 찾지 봐요 마시나 들이 추탑 하고 듣고요 말이 록다다 태좀 마도 록도 속도 섬정을 뒤는 속도 어디서 자기고 마도보다 록과도 가서 득수들이 록과도 가서 하장 땡사 보더니 니만 매ven처럼 나오 차요 대들이 마토방 록도 바탕질라더니 다다다다 좀제 돌아나 좀제 돈이들이 대화도 대외적 산속설에 삼바는지 되게 토당하더니 저탑 들이 답을 시간에 롱주도 고시 함지 받더니 그것도 산속설은 좀 거요래 산속설이라도 답을 시간 좋은 거래 지금들이 거를 못 채는 데도 콩로를 답고 살려 하나 요거래 들이던 거를 못 들나 거를 못 제이드는 로지 탐절이잖아. 단상제야 요래. 이런 거로 보면 남타 로지시 봐 거를 보지. 나타에 대바치 못 먹고 요래. 라는 거 거길. 라마를 쳐버리면 산지 샥자 타고 하던 거를 못 제다. 예당 폴로 대 좋다지. 또 직발이 되니. 예당 거 올라마나 차르더니 사제를 차 줄에 차르더니 추절더니 그 라마 송 예당 톡 하루도 많이 고 요래. 준용서점 때 돈이 동거래 설섬도 강해야 되더니 또 완전 그냥 간다요 말이죠. 강로는 되고 요즘은 그거 매일은 그거 간다 따와요 말이죠. 빼는 화도 또 버리야. 똥만이지. 요즘은 그거리 다 똥만이니까 니 콜로도 꼬라자고 니가 똥만이면 꼬라자고 말이지. 매들은 그리 또 보니까 통해요 말이지. 저는 이거 발라 이러면 해야지. 강남은 해야지. 문해 시대를. 그때 세고 내놓을 때도 찍다 못하면 사자주고 것도 제대다. 제양 샘라데 줄였어. 그러니까 세고 내놓고 때더니 종지에서 서종을 열 나도 생겼다 많이 봐. 도망을 정말 내들 슬라 탐제들을 그래요. 대도 공유 잡히는 성도 라마 대식도 보고 대식도 송 대식도 톡지 라그 잡을 라마지 거 송 톡라 되는 건데 탐치 뉘지요래 대시막 뭐다 삼식들이랑 됐다 탑지나들이 대 세면 등록을 대래 땅에 요 말이 대회는 들이야 탑됐다고 요래지.
So there may be a few new disciples, but I'm listening now. But actually, within Buddha nature, there is really no old and no new. Because everyone has a mind, and whoever has a mind possesses this nature, possesses the same Buddha nature. It is just that our Buddha nature is obscured to varying degrees. Some are more obscured than others, and therefore some require to practice for a longer time than other. So also there's a difference in how much one has already practiced. But then the ultimate nature itself is always the same. So that it makes no difference whether one is a beginning practitioner or an older senior practitioner. So what really makes the difference between the so-called beginning practitioner and a senior practitioner? So a beginning practitioner is really someone who doesn't really understand the workings of karma. So in the beginning, we don't really believe in karma. And so then we are introduced to karma and we begin to understand. And we gain a first understanding of the Dharma, which means we begin to understand karma. And then once we understand that, we progress on the stages of the path. And then we realize that the root of all Dharma practice is Bodhichitta, or love and compassion, the four immeasurables. So in this way, we progress from the individual liberation or the pratimoksha capacity, where we are first introduced to karma, and then we move on to the bodhisattva path, and then in the end we come to the stage of the vajrayana path. So there are different levels of practice depending on our own realization. But so in the beginning there is just there's just ice, and so that ice needs to be melted. So when the mind is in a completely ice-like state, then somebody may think that all religion or the Dharma is bad. And these are basically just ordinary worldly people who are very ignorant, and they have no need for any spirituality. And still they possess Buddha nature. It is just temporarily they do not have the fortune to understand that. So the reason why we have different sadhanas is because there are different levels of practitioners, of higher, middling, and lower capacities. On the ultimate level, when one realizes the meaning of Mahamudra, the nature of Mahamudra, the ultimate truth, then everything within that, everything becomes non-contradictory. Everything is okay within this space of the Dharmakaya. So then there's nothing else that needs to be done once one has realized that. Then one is one with the space of Dharmakaya. And then from that Dharmakaya appears then the Sambhogakaya. So first there is the space like Dharmakaya, and the space like Dharmakaya is our Buddha nature. So Buddha nature is like space. And the Sambhogakaya, the deity, the Yidam deity, is like a rainbow in the sky. And then the Nirmanakaya appears in this world to introduce human beings to the Sambhogakaya and the Dharmakaya. And so that is the purpose of the various sadhanas, to introduce us to the nature of the Yidam deity and the Dharmakaya. So the Nirmanakaya is sort of our it presents like a crossroad that helps us to take the right direction, to recognize the nature of Dharmakaya and Sambhogakaya. So basically the Nirmanakaya is our spiritual friend, is our teacher. And the Nirmanakaya appears in the 6 realms of samsara in various forms. So the Dharmakaya is emptiness. And from this empty space arises, this empty space possesses like a dynamic power to it. And from this dynamism of emptiness arises naturally the Sambhogakaya. And so this dynamism of emptiness is love and compassion. So out of love and compassion appears the Sambhogakaya and the Nirmanakaya, to liberate beings from samsara. So in the sadhana of Guru Rinpoche, it says he's the embodiment of the three kayas. So that is what is meant with that. And so first, for a beginning practitioner, the Nirmanakayas appear, and then for those with pure karmas, the Sambhogakayas appear, and in the end, we all merge into the Dharmakaya. In the end of accomplishing this practice, we merge our mind with the Guru's mind. We realize that our minds are indivisible. And so, because there are sentient beings who have not realized that, there is a sadhana like this so that they can engage in practice. And all practice must begin with an understanding of karma. So all practice is based on an understanding of karma. And all sadhana begins with taking refuge and cultivating the motivation of bodhicitta. So all Buddhist practice begins like that. Also the other day, when I was teaching on the fivefold path of Mahamudra prayer, I introduced you to that. That is the nature of the Guru. And also in relation to these teachings, I introduced you to one translation by Khenpo Gyamtso of Milarepa songs, where he said that within the boundless palace of the three realms dwells the Buddha, the essence of the Sugata, or one's Buddha nature. So, meaning that within the heart of all beings dwells this nature. The only difference is that some have recognized it and some have not recognized it. For some, it seems more accessible than for others. But so in order to recognize our true nature, we are introduced in stages. We need to practice in stages. And so because there are many stages of practice, on the relative level, we say that there are 84,000 different Dharma teachings. And they each have a further 84,000-fold subdivision. So there are limitless Dharma teachings. So in the beginning, for those individuals who cannot understand the ultimate, they must first be introduced to the temporary truth of karma. And that the root of all Dharma practice is bodhicitta, or love and compassion. Bodhicitta is your inner guru. On the relative level, this is what we first must learn. And so then somebody who has understood that will then recognize my own mind, my own bodhicitta is the guru. And so therefore, I am one with the guru at all times. And when they look at sentient beings, they think that sentient beings suffer because they perceive dualistic existence. In the ultimate space, in their ultimate nature, there is no suffering. Suffering does not exist. In ultimate reality, in the space of ultimate reality or dharmata, suffering does not exist. Only in the dimension of the material world, suffering exists. And so based on that observation, one gives rise to the relative bodhicitta. So then there are all kinds of individuals that one encounters in the world. So some understand karma, some do not understand karma. There are some people in this world who suffer intensely. They are always miserable, they always suffer, and they lose their will to live. And then there is others who are always happy. And no matter what they do, they're always in like a pure land of great bliss. So the first thing that we need to understand to achieve such happiness is karma. Jigten Sumgön has said that beings are confused, are ignorant of the interdependence of cause and effect. If we do not understand the subtle workings of karma, cause and effect, we will never be able to understand the Dharma truly. We will always give rise to doubts and misunderstandings. So basically there are misunderstandings, wrong views, and partial understandings. And the partial understanding is a little bit better, but the wrong view and the complete lack of understanding, these are the worst. And of these, the wrong views is even worse. When we hold wrong views in the mind, then we are really a solidified ice block that never meets the sun at all. So especially these two individuals holding wrong views and who do not understand at all, they need to first understand karma. So we have said, may beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. The cause of happiness, according to karma, is bodhicitta, or it is love. And so this is the purpose of practicing the sadhana, is to realize that. So when we practice the sadhana, we practice the yidam deity, and the yidam is Sambhogakaya. And the Sambhogakaya yidam also arises from bodhicitta, from relative bodhicitta. The pure lands that those yidams inhabit are a manifestation of bodhicitta. And that is also Guru Rinpoche's nature. He lives in a pure land. So when we practice Guru Rinpoche, it is good to understand his historical background, the history, in order for us to become inspired and cultivate a pure perception. When we hear Guru Rinpoche's story, then faith and devotion arises in our mind. So when we hear the story, we understand that they all are the same. So the Buddha Shakyamuni, Guru Rinpoche, or the Yidam Chakrasamvara are all the same. The Yidam appears as the essence of the Yidam appears in the form of the Guru. The Dharma appears from the Buddha. In the sadhana, it is said all forms are the Guru's form, all sounds are the Guru's speech. So the Guru's essence also is the three roots. The Guru's form is the Lama, the speech is the Yidam, and the mind is the Dakini. And Dakini means the nature of emptiness, or the source of all phenomena. That's the Dakini. The Dharmodaya is called the source of all phenomena. The Dharmodaya is a triangular shape, and the three corners represent the empty nature of things. And emptiness, so the three corners represent emptiness, and in emptiness, there is no contradiction. Everything is okay in emptiness. There is nothing that is wrong in emptiness. So you can say that something is there, or you can say that something is not there. It's all valid. So, for example, we say that space is empty. So you can say that there is space. So you can still say there is space because, for example, if I want to spin my prayer wheel, I need there to be space. If there's no space, I couldn't spin the prayer wheel. So I can say that there is space. But then, since space is empty, obviously we can also say that there is no space because we can't see it. It's not an object. So space does not abide in any of the extremes. And that's why it can be anything. There's no contradiction. And so how we realize this in our own mind is by not having a single thought. When we are first introduced to Mahamudra, we are told, without a single thought, decisively look at your true nature. And when you look at your true nature, without any thought, that is, without thinking about in a dualistic way that there is a mind a subject that perceives an outer object without thinking anything. You just continue on in a natural, non-conceptual state. And within that state, all the yidams are accomplished. Like all the yidams are the same. And so anyways, it is in order to realize that, that the sadhana is being taught. So again, in the sadhana, it says all forms are the guru's form, all sounds are the guru's speech, the root guru's mind, the root guru's form, and so on, and speech. So everything in brief, what this is to say is that all of samsara and nirvana, everything that appears and exists, is within the root guru. He's everything that appears and exists. And in order for beings to understand that, a sadhana is arranged for us to practice, so that when we read it, we can apply the meaning of that to our own mind and then come to an understanding in this way.
Tata Jevata, Nubota, somebody, Teletinita, Slakwata, no, Lama, Shivandi, Solitary, got the customs about it. You go talking in someone in the Chinam to custom land in other Hondi, Nia Tamada, Niatri, Turkoko constant, Turshipati, constant, there is a Tamata, you know, some similar to some younger. Oh, there is a Tapai, Lata Saji, Shakalasa, your Labagasi, Matapa, Hora Dome, or just think on a deducti shadi yori. They don't even charge on it. They were the canny, they were the sun, took the chocolate. Same jet, same day, you won't leave. Samba and New Law, so there are neck out and toys get there on Tato Saji, common and draw yori. They were the David Jerry's. Don't need that, don't need just dancing at the new moment, tell she don't tell Tado, just don't need it, don't need it. Don't need the gold, don't need the go your money. Mago in a treat, don't need the targo, tardu your send the thing with doing your money. Tell it that me song sometimes, Zambu, Ling, don't need them, the new chocolate. Shedanga trucker, Tado trucker, Senate trucker, Testam Tesco, Missom Sumte, Missom Domain Zabber, Mitola Yori, Yatachikong Domain, Yawa Chadanga Domain, Tata than Tabber and Penega, Kashi de teaching a method of a day Yori, Nasam, Kashi Tata and Sokaja, to work at Dandi told Jack. That is a ranking money, you know, took Mom, 3 years on the town, Hamsim Jelly, Tati. Three legend Revali, she does the Tado Reva, Tetan Yam, the Yam the young glory. They don't need the coming over to get the Jogator young Yori. Oh, Tatsama chocolate, the lean chicken diameter. Oh, Tata than to watch us and double the domain of the Senator, she done the chocolate, Tado chocolate. The real Sanchez of the new mother talked over it, talks about the Gilco Yori. Dumino no? The me pango, the me judge a pango, and river pine. Oh, that domain your time, Lamsanti, Zabbling, Jacka, don't talk to you, my day, Narka, Nara, Shilka, Shadow, your drama down. Oh, this joke to talk with it. David Joke, that's how you got certain one sound of them. I thought that they don't use the double Zamling, Ledges about it, they shut it. They're just coming. Oh, that is the main just on top of the awesome legend day, then ransom race. That of the David and tourism race, or not the Sajik or money. Do me just after that, Marson Java, Yada, the door last one. Musa did Dzambhala, that left you. Nasari, you got left song, Thompson, you got left song. That is Tambo, from to go your Mate come so the chick lady, don't come by your death of the Torson, color surgery, doesn't come by me. Yeah, that is what they no, that is just start to go. Jump on my said, they were the devil start to say the number you go. So there is the Tawa Juricame. Oh, long, man, took the logo, the Tawa Chai. tukura tamada nyando yore. Otte ta nawa tabi lama kurti, nugechi tabi lama kuri, lama kuri shiwa, honto sem deshingi bo yore sama, sem chiba yosari deshingi bo yore, ne kapteni dungi la to malam pasirada, dungi te kache nyongla yang, jokta deshingi bo tiki, luta ka mari, teni tablawa mebe chabsong, teni rawa mebe kapto deshing, kapto rang chonga ya yen, rati sab deshingi bo yosong, Devi distinction was around top of the leader to tap of the Soviore. This is a teaching, some joy. There is a mean come at Mr. Jaron. Trinaki, Sakaki.
So, as sadhana in general is also referred to as like an essence, or an essence that leads to fruition. And so, especially in this sadhana, it is that all appearances, all forms are the guru's form. And also in another Guru Rinpoche practice, the Gunjuk, it says that the guru is the embodiment of the three kayas. All phenomena have the nature of the three kayas. And so that means that samsara and nirvana all has the nature of the three kayas. There are pure and impure aspects. So a nirvana kaya possesses a pure and an impure aspect. And that is actually also implied by the word nirvana, which means like an emanation, something that emanates. So that implies that it can emanate into anything, pure and impure. But so when you tell somebody new that everything is pure, then they may develop some doubts, have some doubts about that. So on the one hand, we have the deities, we have the Buddhas, the Pure Lands, the spiritual masters. They represent the pure aspect. And then the impure aspect of samsara is the suffering that we experience in this world, for example. So it is the direct experience of happiness and suffering. So happiness is anything that leads to happiness is tulku. A tulku is like an emanation of bodhicitta. And therefore we can say everyone is tulku. Everyone really is the same because we all possess the same mind. We all possess Buddha nature. And when this Buddha nature encounters love and compassion, then temporarily it will experience happiness in the higher realms and ultimately attain enlightenment. So we speak about happiness and the causes of happiness. Love is happiness and the cause of happiness. And then there is suffering and the causes of suffering. And that is self-grasping. And from self-grasping arise the many causes of suffering, the afflictive emotions. There arises anger, and anger turns into jealousy and so forth. So do we want to suffer? Obviously not. Nobody wants to suffer. But we need to know how to separate ourselves from suffering. Buddha nature doesn't want to suffer, but we still suffer. And that is because of afflictive emotions. All the suffering of the beings in the three lower realms and also in this world is because of afflictive emotions. So all those beings are tulkus, or emanations of the afflictive emotions. There are tulkus of anger, there are tulkus of jealousy, there are tulkus of greed. And these are the beings in the three lower realms. Their mind is in a state of suffering. And also in this world, actually, this world is actually a perfect example. It represents, this human world represents all the suffering. All the suffering in the six realms is somewhere represented in this world. For example, the suffering of the hungry spirits. There is a lot of hunger and thirst. Or the suffering of the hell beings, heat and cold. And yet there are still some who live like in a pure land, like in a flower meadow, and are always happy and never sick. And then there is others who are constantly struggle and fight, are at war, and that is because of self-grasping. And the mind is still the same. And we also experience the suffering of the jealous gods. So, for example, we know there's certain people who, at any cost, out of great pride and arrogance, try to fight with others and take what they have because they're jealous, and so on. So we can see all of that represented in this world, and it is not mainly due to our anger and our jealousy that we must experience a lot of suffering. So we suffer because there is a cause, and we all are durgus of various afflictive emotions. So in this world, all the suffering of the 6 realms is represented. And the Buddhas have therefore referred to the afflictive emotions as the poisons. Poison because they are the cause of suffering. And if you want to rid yourself of suffering, you must rid yourself of the causes of suffering. If you do not abandon the causes of suffering, you will not be able to avoid the ripening results. You cannot abandon the results. Even if we, for example, try to help someone in need in the world, help them out, through charity and so forth, we cannot ultimately protect them. Also, if that is their karma. If it's their karma, some will still get sick, some will still die, because they have created the cause for that to happen. So if we listen well to the Buddha's teachings, then you will really come to an understanding and find some truth within it. And you can see when you look around in this world is really a representation of all the 6 realms of samsara. So the only cause that frees us from suffering, the cause of happiness, is a mind of bodhicitta. So we can see in this world some people who possess bodhicitta, they live in this world just like in a Pure Land. And on the other hand, there's others who live like in hell. So we can see it all in this world. So right, especially nowadays, we can see we have been through a lot of disease, haven't we? And now there's also war. And then, of course, there's always hunger and thirst and impoverishment in the world. So we can see all of that in our lifetimes in this world. And so when you look around, for example, some people, they spend their entire life working to save up money and have a home to live in, and the next moment it is bombed and completely destroyed and they have no more place to live. They have no more food to eat. It is gone. So that also has a cause. And in order to avoid such suffering, we must not create the causes for this to happen. So that is why we need to keep in our heart the mind of bodhicitta at all times. So that's the impure perspective. And then there are the pure illusory bodies. These are the various Sambhogakayas, the Yidams, and also the Dharmakaya is a pure aspect. The Nirmanakaya possesses both a pure and an impure aspect. And they appear in this world, for example, as our spiritual master. And so, therefore, we say all appearances are the Guru's form. So then one also may think that all the suffering is the Guru's form. And in a way it is, because it reminds us of the workings of karma, and that we all still ultimately possess the same nature, Buddha nature. So in the 37 practices it says suffering is like the death of one's child in a dream. So on an ultimate level, also, that does not inherently exist. On our ultimate refuge, which is our own Buddha nature, will never give up on us. And that is why it is called the undeceiving source of refuge. Or, as you mentioned in that Milarepa song, within the boundless palace, the immeasurable palace of the 3 realms of samsara, in the minds of sentient beings in the 3 realms of samsara, which is like this boundless palace, dwells Buddha nature, the essence of the Buddhas. And the sadhana is taught and practiced in order to realize that and in order for this Buddha nature to attain freedom. So now we're going to take a break for 20 minutes. And after the break, I will continue with a few more words of teaching.